Omar says that white men are responsible for most of the deaths in the United States. So let me get this straight. 69% of the people, I'm stuck on that number, I don't know, but 69% of the people going to vote are white. Of that, 48.5 are males. So I don't know, my rough math is 33%. Let's go out and piss off 33% of the people that vote, and that's a smart strategy. And the people that agree with her. There are people that actually agree with her. And I think these, honestly, I think these people are more trouble than they're worth.
But you kind of say,
Ilhan Omar says that white males are responsible for more deaths than anybody in the country. I have no idea whether that's true. Why say that? Why are we trying to piss off 1/3 of the people that are going to vote? Forget I'm a white male. I'm running a campaign. I'm running a strategy. I know that 70% of the people that are going to vote are going to be white. I know 48% of those are going to be male. So my rough, non-Stanford, back of the envelope calculation, it's about 1/3 of the electorate. When is somebody going to say, why don't you people just learn to shut up about this? You're not doing anybody any good.
Oh boy, here we go. The Democrats are officially in a circular firing squad as Trump racks up win after win after win. The Democrats have started to turn on each other like never before. They're even trying to take out freaking Fetterman. I kid you not. We're going to take a look at what's really going on with this erupting Democrat civil war. We're going to see precisely why. It's only the beginning. We got the stats that show things are going to get worse for the imploding liberal left. The Democrats are disintegrating. In fact, it's worse. They're increasingly turning on each other. In the midst of their TDS madness, in the midst of their apocalyptic weeping and gnashing of teeth, they've become a circular firing squad. They are more intent now on destroying one another than they are fending off this unprecedented assault by MAGA forces. I'm totally serious. Butter the popcorn, sit back, and watch and enjoy the Democrat demolition in real time. You're going to absolutely love this. But first, gang, President Trump just signed an executive order outlining his plans to create America's first national sovereign wealth fund. And it will need to be filled up with assets and fast. Trump wants a go-live plan in the next 90 days. The Wall Street types are already focused on packing it with real estate, infrastructure, and pieces of trendy companies like TikTok. But let's not forget about gold. Sovereign wealth funds love to buy gold in bulk. Australia's been loading up. Saudi Arabia is buying the world's largest gold mine to supply itself. And even tiny Singapore recently added more than 100 metric tons of gold to its vaults. Can you imagine what could happen to the per ounce price of gold, which has already been surging sky high since Trump took office? I mean, if America's new sovereign wealth fund followed international best practices and made gold a part of its diversified portfolio, can you imagine? I mean, it would potentially make our country a brand new mega buyer in an already tight market. And when there's limited supply and huge demand, well, the impact on prices, let's just say you want to be ready. There's a simple way to get in on the action. It's all laid out for you in the free gold report from my partners at turleytalkslikesgold.com. You'll want to request your copy right away. After all, President Trump has put the world on notice. A new sovereign wealth fund for America may be coming perhaps in as little as the next 90 days. Take advantage of the time you've got to prepare. Get your free gold report now at turleytalkslikesgold.com. All right, here we go, gang. Strap yourselves in and watch the fireworks. Here is the ever insufferable parody of repulsiveness, Ilhan Omar.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
Now, can you imagine if Trump said something like that about any other race? Can you imagine it? Can you imagine anyone saying that about any other race? Yeah, we have to do something about black people in this country. I mean, they are the worst. Latinos, I'll tell you, Latinos are the worst people in the. What? This is, you see, Democrats are never going to understand this. This is why you have MAGA. This is why you have civilizationalist populism. You have generally an ethnic majority rising up and saying, we are tired of being the object of stigmatization in such a way where we do that to other races, we'd be fired from our jobs and permanently canceled from social life. We are sick and tired of this double standard, this two-tier racial rhetoric. Well, not to be outdone, here is Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett.
Act like, oh, political violence, it's the Democrats and it's the liberals. And it's like, actually, I mean, I'm not going to say that like a left-leaning person cannot be violent, because that would be like crazy to say that somebody can't be. But baby, y'all got the white supremacists galore, okay? Like all of them. You got the Proud Boys, you got the neo-Nazis. You have people that literally should be classified as domestic terrorists, because a lot of times that is what they are doing. They are engaging in domestic terrorism. And guess what? They all align with your side.
Yeah.
Including the KKK. So like, I mean, this is who aligns with that. So like inherently in like who you are, y'all are violent. Like
right.
Y'all, and most of your violence has to do with people that's got a little bit of melanin. But nevertheless, like,
Look at that face. Look at it. I mean, if ever there were a picture perfect image of the Democrat Party right now, there it is. There it is. My heavens. I'm looking for the bell and the Notre Dame Cathedral behind her, right? Krakimoto, I guess. I mean, this is, oh my God. So look, I mean, obviously that's a lived out symbol, I think, of our politics. We've got demented and deformed politics in front of us. So according to the borderline illiterate Krakimoto, Jasmine Krakimoto, whites are intrinsically violent. I mean, you heard her say it. That's right. The fiery but mostly peaceful protests after police shooting. That's right. In her words, no. We whites are inherently violent. We whites are violent, and most of our violence has to do with people that got a little bit of melanin. People, there's got a little bit of melanin. That's exactly what she said. Quote, most of our violence has to do with, quote, people that's got a little bit of melanin. Who votes for this woman? I would just love to meet her constituents, because our politics are emblematic of our own hearts, of who we are. That's the sad part of it. Our politics are ultimately symbolic of who we are. And I would love to meet her constituents. Who thinks that's a good idea? Or what's her name? Delaro of the blue-haired 105-year-old woman in Congress. I mean, who puts people like that into office? Well, regardless, these virulently anti-white, anti-male comments have provoked the ire of one of the senior advisors of the Democratic Party, old serpent head himself, Jane Cavell, the raging Cajun, who is rightly calling out this nonsense as political suicide.
Why don't you just get out the Democratic Party? Honestly, start your own movement. All right, let's do the simple math. Probably 69%, I don't know, we could call Jim Gerstein or Jeff Garrett. Roughly 69% of the people going to vote in November, maybe more. Let's do 70 for just round math, are going to be white. Of that, 48%, maybe a little more, are going to be male. So that's roughly, let's just call it 33.33% of the entire election. Well, let's just run against them because that's so goddamn smart. All right. So now we're going to have a campaign by the progressive left against white men. who vote about a third of everybody that votes in an election. Why don't you, lady, start your own party? And then when it's over, if you want to caucus with the Democrats, fine. We agree with a lot of things that you do, but we don't believe we ought to be running against white men. In fact, we don't think we ought to be running against any gender, any ethnic group, any race, any religion, or anything else. God damn, these people are just helpless. They cannot be helped. There's nothing you can do to help them. They don't want to be helped. And if they had any guts, they'd start their own goddamn political party and get out of ours.
Yeah, but you can't help them. Do you notice the contradiction, right? You can't help them. They don't want to be helped. There's no bother trying to help them and so forth. So they should just start their own party. In other words, you can't help them. That would be helping them, wouldn't it? It'd be certainly helping yourselves. But so there you got it. Shots fired. Shots fired. This coming from one of the senior advisors of the Democrat Party. Ilhan Omar, AOC, Jasmine Krakimoto, get the hell out of our party. Make no mistake now. Carville is speaking on behalf of a lot of Democrats and Democrat leadership in saying that they despise the squad-like figures. They despise them because they think they are political poison. Yes, they can win in their own. Notice they're not in the Senate. They're always in the House. They can win in their own fringe districts, but they can't. They are political poison in the state as a whole, generally speaking, and let alone the nation at large. But what's so odd here is that Carville doesn't even seem to recognize that what Omar and Krakimoto are doing is they're pushing to its extreme. It's pushing to the logical limits, as it were, the very resentment politics that they were taught by none other than people like James Carville. I mean, when Carville's not bashing his fellow Democrats, Carville is engaging in rhetoric like this himself. He's constantly bashing Trump as a Nazi, a fascist, an authoritarian dictator. So what does that say about all of us who voted for him? Sounds kind of deplorable. You see, all Crockett and Omar are doing is taking that resentment politics and applying it to people who voted for Trump. So where Carville is going to draw the line at the person, we're seeing people like Krakimoto and Ilhan Omar extend that line now to include the people that put that person into power. Again, this didn't start with the squad. This is Hillary Clinton 101. You, of course, remember this, don't you?
Just being grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up.
Now, what's so hilarious about that clip, now watching it nearly 10 years later, what is so funny about it, and actually, frankly, embarrassing, is she mistakenly believed that she was so far ahead of Trump. We now know that. She was shocked to find out she lost on election night. She was so shocked she couldn't be seen in public. We had to wait till the next morning before she got, just very much like Kamala. She was so utterly shocked. She thought she was so far ahead of Trump because she believed all the fake polls that she thought she could insult a significant portion of the voting population. So half his vote. So what, upward? She probably thought she was going to beat him 60-40. So she thought she could insult 20% of the voting population and still win. But again, it's what she's doing here is it's simply the logic of resentment politics pushed to its extreme. Resentment politics attempts to use wedge issues that divide us as the primary way of achieving and maintaining political power. Hence, you're a racist. You're again, resentment politics have gone. I mean, they go back all the way to ancient Athens, where it's. But what was key with resentment politics is you always projected the resentment onto a foreign threat. So if we're Athenian, the resentment is extended over to the Spartans. If we're Roman, it's extended over to Carthaginians, and on and on. What you're seeing here, and of course in Europe, you got whoever's bordering you and so forth. What you're seeing here is the fruits of a shift in the 1960s where Democrats began to aim resentment at members of our very own electorate. And they use race, and they use gender, and they use increasingly sexual identity, and now increasing all these minority oppressed identities as wedge issues to malign and impugn and stigmatize a whole section of our population, so as to try to amass a supermajority of the aggrieved. So this is why the Democrats are so obsessed with race and gender and LGBT issues. It is not because they actually care about them. They will sell you down a river for their own profit and power. It's not because they actually care about these issues. It's not ideological. It's not because they're committed to the cause, as it were. It is because resentment politics has, at least up until now, been the ticket to their own power and affluence. Right? They're not, we call them limousine liberals, champagne socialists, right? Bernie's finding this out, flying around in private jets in between bashing the oligarchy at political rallies. Resentment politics is all ultimately about power and fortune. And Hillary Clinton found out the hard way that approach to politics, that approach to power and fortune no longer works. In an age of growing populism, the real resentment is now towards the establishment, the status quo, the permanent political class. This is why they hate Trump so much, because Trump upset the apple cart. Horizontal divisions in politics, left versus right, Democrats versus Republicans. That is rife for these wedge issues. So, blacks versus whites, or non-whites versus whites, or, gays versus straight, or women versus men. It's perfect. But when you have someone coming along and saying, no, the resentment that we all have, it should not be aimed at this person or that person inside this country who is a citizen. If you're a citizen of this country, you're precious, you're sacred. We should be protecting you. It's our permanent political class that refuses to do so. It's our stupid politicians that sell your safety. They sell your national security. They sell your economic prosperity. They sell your culture down a river for their own empowerment and affluence. So what Trump did is he inverted this horizontal resentment, us versus them, to a vertical resentment, the people versus the permanent political class. And the problem with this for the Democrats is that the more that resentment towards the establishment festers among the people as a whole, the wider the targets for traditional resentment among Democrat politicians becomes. I'll say that again and then demonstrate it. The more resentment towards the establishment festers among the population, the wider the objects of resentment among the population the Democrats focus on. So for Hillary, it was half of Trump's voters. But for Omar, it's all white men. And for Crockett, it's whites as a whole. Do you see? Basket of deplorables, all white men, whites as a whole. And for the ladies at The View, they'll keep going. Like Sunny Hostin, it's not only all men, but now particularly Latino men. Misogyny is the reason why Kamala lost And that misogyny was most evident among Latino men. So do you see how the targets for resentment are just growing and growing and growing for these rabid woke Democrats? It's another way of understanding the 80-20 doom loop we talk about all the time here. They are packing themselves in. They are trapping themselves in a permanent 20% radical left bloc that is alienating them from 80% supermajority of the consensus. That's a sign, I must say. That is a sign. It's another sign that the populist revolt against the woke left is growing by leaps and bounds. In 2016, it was primarily white working class. In 2024, it was becoming primarily non-white working class. So it's extending and it's spreading, and that's why the resentment politics, the objects, the targets of resentment politics have been growing and extending. It's not half of Trump's voter base anymore. It's all of them. It's all of them now. And again, that's just causing the Democrats to more and more shoot themselves in the foot. Case in point, look at what has been happening in my backyard with Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. The one Democrat that has positioned himself as a populist is getting a bunch of hit pieces put out on him for the purpose of kicking him out. I mean, the latest is from the Philadelphia Inquirer that's accusing Fetterman of basically, we all know he had a stroke. Well, it's accusing him of now, think about this, after 4 years of Biden and not one syllable questioning his mental acuity. The Philadelphia Inquirer is now accusing Fetterman of basically being mentally and emotionally unfit for his job as senator. They're actively trying to squeeze Fetterman out. This is the Philadelphia Inquirer. Here's one from Newsweek. Staffer left crying over his erratic behavior. Message, Fetterman is not mentally and emotionally fit to serve as senator. Here's one from the AP. Same thing. Do we have the AP? Yeah. Senator Fetterman raises alarms with outbursts at meeting with union officials. Again, it's the same thing. He's got fits of outrage. These outbursts. It suggests he's mentally and emotionally unfit. And of course, all of that means is that Fetterman just doubles down on fighting back and pushing back against the Democrat leadership and its failed policies. So Carville wants the likes of Omar and Crockett, Crocimoto, out of the party. All his Democrat insiders are seeming to try to get rid of Fetterman out of the party. But as it turns out, if you could believe it, the news actually gets worse for the Democrats. Hey there, Turley Talker. You know what? I'd love to hear from you. That's why I'm launching the Dr. Steve Hotline, where you can call in, leave a question, and maybe even hear your own voice featured on an upcoming episode of the show. Whether it's about the latest political shakeup or cultural trends or how we keep pushing forward in this new conservative age, I want to know what's on your mind. Call me at 717-844-5984. Just leave your question. I'll be checking in every single week to answer as many as I can. Again, that's 717-844-5984. Your chance to be a part of the conversation. One more time, 717-844-5984. Give me a call and let's talk.